Joining us. Yep, there's Brian. Take it away, Mr. Brian.
Alright, so tonight we are going to be we're going to be taking a first look at Sudoku Prism. This is made by a fellow Georgia game developer, William Atkins. So, quick little bio on William. He's worked in for 10 years, he's worked in energy exploration and learned to program there. And then for 30 years, that's why we're not showing our camera so you can't see how many gray hairs we have, right? For 30 years, he worked in IT after returning to school to get a formal programming training. And then he worked for the military. So were you in the service?
No, just contractor.
Okay, just a contractor for the military, financial, insurance, and e-commerce industries. Been a programmer, systems manager, DBA as a manager, and worked on a variety of platforms, databases, and several languages. He just completed 10 years building and managing global data and support division for his current employer. And also, this is kind of cool. He's our first look at a first developer for Lua. He found out about Corona and Lua and decided that creating a game would be fun. Ha ha.
Yeah.
Yeah. Corona has been an API framework called Composer that allows the creation of multiple code units to function cohesively via reference and parameters. So there's a lot of stuff that we can dive into. I'm not going to go into everything, but Sudoku is a game about after creating a prototype for a different game in Corona that he felt like he needed a lot of work and he's not ready to commit to. Okay, actually, I'm not gonna dive into the rest of this stuff. So anyway, welcome. Thank you so much, William and Andrew and Mario, for joining us on this stream as we take a very first look at Sudoku.
All right.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Yeah. We're running off the hip with this one, aren't we, folks?
Sure are. All right. So this is Sudoku Prism. Game that was kind of just brainstormed over a coffee table. It's regular Sudoku uses numbers, and we decided what we wanted to do was to use color. Most people don't like color. I found that out. They tend to find it very jarring if they're used to using numbers, but actually they get used to this game after a while, and it's just as interesting and just as much fun. Simple interface. You see I highlight a color, and all the corresponding colors that are present on the board get highlighted, so that way you can track what you need and where you need to put it, provided that I can actually figure out where to put one tonight. There we go. Alright, I'm not going to run through a whole game, I'm just going to show some of the features. So that's typical input. Let's go ahead and create an error, and you see that we get nice little highlights there, red background, tell us we've got an error. We hit our error clear button, clean them out. Now we can go ahead and try and find the right place to put that color. Give me a second here. There we go. Another function that we have is pause. This is if you care to go someplace else, or you're out of time, or your boss is coming by and getting ready to get you playing a game, and you don't like to keep your job. Innocent, honest, trust me. So, also in addition, you can replay the board. Let's say that you don't like the way it's going. Bam, you're right back. You zero out your counter, zero out the board. You can start all over again. Very useful. I use that quite a lot. Let's take a look at... Okay, let's say that we're in a position where we have multiple possibilities, multiple possible endings to a board. Say where you have 3 occurrences of 2 empty squares going across. There's several boards that are like that. So let's go for a hint. Now, I don't have much in the way of coins, so I can provide only a random color hint. But that should give us a random color. And I wasn't looking to see where it appeared. It's on here somewhere. I'm sorry. Okay, so what it does is it produces a random color anywhere. If you wanted to, if you had a selected color, it won't come up because I don't have any money. No, I don't have any money. I'm broke, just like everybody else. I hope you were able to see how that functionality actually works. But yeah, so we've got a couple of fail safes in here in case you do try to get yourself a hint and you don't have the money. It just comes back. Now, of course, for a small fee, you can always buy more coins. I'd be more than glad to have you do that. I don't buy coins because I'm so cheap I won't even buy for myself.
Oh, really?
Yeah, definitely.
All right.
We got music. I don't know if you'll be able to hear this or not. Let's go back. Nope, we can't. I got my sound off. That's why. I can't stand to listen to sound on my phone. We got store, as you can see. Very simple. Exorbitant prices for very simple things. So that's what we're supposed to do, I think. And we're getting ready to have an ad come across on Visor. I love it. See, I'm so cheap I don't even buy the real thing. We have options. And let's see if we can get rid of that.
Never mind the advertisement.
Yeah, pay no attention to the advertisement on the screen. We have
Never mind the man behind the curtain.
or the man behind the curtain, or the man babbling, for that matter. Okay, so this is the options. You can turn those highlights off if you care to, turn them back on. These are themes. This is what I was talking about, color, and color sometimes jarring people's senses. If you don't like what you currently have, or if you find it difficult to play with a particular set of colors, you can come in here, you can select a different color, change the color set, come here, you can change the background set. So now, essentially, you've got a completely different look and feel to the game board.
Awesome. So where did you get those art assets? Did you actually go out and take those pictures?
No, I found those on ByteNet. Very, very tons and tons of pictures. It took longer to get the pictures selected than it did to write the code to show them. I kid you not, I'm serious.
I don't doubt it. So I'm assuming this is a Creative Commons?
Yeah.
All right.
Yep. Yeah, so then the other thing is the button sets. The button sets took a long time. That was purely Illustrator. And trying to come up with sets that didn't all look alike, that had a little bit different texture and a little bit different imaging on them to keep them unique. You really would be amazed at the difference, say, when you're playing this particular set here and you're using this particular button set. Completely changes everything, and it actually makes it easier on the eyes, at least for me. So you have tons of combinations, and I'm going to go ahead and make this free. I'm not going to charge $1.99 for it. It's not worth it. It's a whole lot easier, I think, and gives the game much more viability as a marketing, or as to be marketed if that aspect is free.
All right. So where can we get their game? Is it available for PC or is it mobile only?
It's mobile only, and it's free.
Where can we find that?
On the Google App Store. I don't have it for iPhone.
And
Okay.
folks can find the link in the GGDA website under our article for today's stream. So,
Okay. Or just search Frog Studios. Is that right?
Talking Frog Studios.
Talking Frog Studios. Yeah. So you can, for those who didn't know, if there's more than one game with the same name, you can search up the studio in Google Play and find all the games that's released there. So cool. Available on Google Play.
Yes.
Excellent. Talking Frog Studios.
Yeah, there's a long story behind that too, but we won't go into it.
we'll save that for the Patreon only part of this stream.
There you go. There you go.
So you heard frogs talking to you one night in the synopsis, right?
Yeah, we won't go there either. How we got there is irrelevant. So we have 5 different levels. As you can see, very easy. The difference between these levels is, let's go here, is the number of starting points that you have available to you and how they're broken up. Here you see we have clusters of numbers, clusters of the colors rather,
which tend to make it a lot easier to try and resolve, as opposed to very few colors and no clusters per se. Um, this is a very hard board, and it is indeed exactly what that says. It lives up to its name. Um, this is where hints would come in handy. Not only that, but a new functionality that I'm getting ready to bring about in the first of the year. Common practice for a lot of Sudoku games is you have a notes function where you can shift into a different mode, touch a square, touch a color or a number, and you get a small number or inside that square positioned in a 3 across, 3 down format, usually 1, 2, 3 across, and 5, 6, etc. We're going to do the same thing with the colors, because when you've got something like this, you desperately need something that's going to give you a clue, something that's a notepad type of functionality. These boards are almost impossible to resolve without making errors if you don't have a functionality like that. Learned that the hard way.
All right, so I had one chat on YouTube here saying, what engine did you use? And are you willing to show off some of your artwork? And I say artwork as in meaning, you know, the code and anything like that. How you went into building this game?
Yeah, I got that's on my list of to-dos here. So what we did is I used Corona. Now I don't know if anybody's familiar with Corona. It's an API-based system. It's not like, say, Unity or Unreal, where you have packages available to you. You use C# code, and that scripting is actually attached to the various objects, and you have so much going on behind the scenes under the covers. Instead, this is pure programming. It's a series of about 1,200 APIs that you write Lua code to link and create your program. This is a front piece. This is the simulator. This is the beauty of Corona. This is one of the things I really like. Let's say I want to view this as an iPhone 6 Plus. I'm now looking at an iPhone 6 Plus. So I can simulate this even on strange little devices like the old Nokia.
Wow.
Yeah, think about it. Those things are still around too, I'm sure.
Well, one of the things I do know about uploading to Google Play is it will tell you how many devices your game is actually compatible for. Yes. I can't contest on how accurate that data is, but
so far all the Androids that people have used has been pretty consistent, from 4 on the way up to 8. We haven't had any trouble at all. And I keep saying we because actually my wife and I and my daughter are involved in this. So it's kind of a family company, if you will. Let's see if we can get this. That's our GDPA notification there, in case you don't want your personalized information. Ah, the music. Yes. We'll kill that. Nope, it didn't kill it. That's right. It wouldn't kill it on here.
I think Mario was trying to say something there.
I was wondering about the music earlier. Music in games is always an interesting thing to me, because that's one of the things that kind of ties me to gaming experiences, is the music that I hear. So what went into the music? Why did you make the kind of the style choice that you did?
I have 2 different styles. I have a Latin style for the menus, which just seem more upbeat with the hot colors that you see. And then, as you can hear, this jazz music, yes, jazz type for the actual board, because it's a calmer, cooler effect on the mind. You don't want something, in my mind, I didn't want something agitating When you're trying to think, if you're going to have music, it needs to be softer and more melodic, and I wasn't going to go for something like classical, so I figured jazz.
Bossa Nova always works.
Well, yeah, but I see in this case that would actually be on the menu system because it's more upbeat.
So for everybody else in all of our channels, I have gone through the troubles, and I am throwing you a link. There you go.
So you have a limited number of other sound effects in the game, button clicks, placement, and so forth. What is it, about a half dozen all told interface sounds?
Yeah, roughly.
Yes, makes it easier on game dev when that's all you have to grab. Did you go ahead and grab some free ones online, or do you have a sound effects library?
They're all free. I'm cheap. Everything's free. The music's free. Yeah, this was a complete shoestring operation. Having never done it before, I thought I'd just go out and I pulled down Audacity, then grabbed some free music and started playing around with it and cutting segments out and deciding, okay, do I want this sound? Do I want that sound? Audacity turned out to be a really easy tool to use. I really like it. I'm going to continue to use that on other projects.
We saw that you had Blender on your home screen, so
Yep.
Definitely the good economical game dev tools.
Yeah, I got Blender and I got Daz and Hexagon. I've used Daz for a long time. I used Blender for a long time too. Going to be using that a lot more in that new game I'm working on in Unity right now. But of course, there was no need for any of this. Everything here is done free photographs and Illustrator.
Excellent. All right. So you did this game in Lua and Corona. Interesting, because I've used Lua for scripting, but never for any kind of full dev. So how long do you think it took you, both in real time and in person hours?
Okay, there's a story here. Just real
Does it
quick.
involve talking frogs?
No, it doesn't. Nope. No talking frogs. There was no moonshine involved in this, okay? It's real simple. All the years of programming, you would think that one would start out in a nice, cohesive, thoughtful manner. No, this was, oh God, we're going to make a game. Let's go for it. So after about, I guess 4 or 5 months, I realized that I really needed to step back and do this the right way. And actually start working with use cases and lay out a design and some flows and figure out exactly what it was going to look like. So those 4 to 5 months really weren't all that wasted. I was able to learn far more about Lua and far more about the API for Corona. Yeah, I guess in the long run, I really would like to have been more productive on the game. The overall time for the game, it took a year and a half. That was working 20 hours a week when I could. And I was managing and building that division, and there wasn't a whole lot of free time. So I guess when you look at the amount of time that was actually put in on it in terms of man hours, would probably be close to about 9 months.
Okay, does that include the wife and daughter time, or they count as double time?
The daughter time, she did a lot of preliminary artwork and stuff that it kind of gave me some inspirations. She's working on all the artwork on another project right now for me. And the wife was there to simply make sure that I kept on track. So she actually had about 9 months worth of man hours involved also.
Yeah, that's often the hardest part of game development, is just keeping people on track. So congratulations to her on good project management.
Yes, high five to the boss of bosses.
Yes.
All right.
Most definitely.
So the game launched after a year and a half of dev. Do you feel comfortable sharing any numbers? How many downloads?
Yeah, I can share downloads. There's about 30 of them.
Hey, it's a start.
It's a start, and I have no problems. They're not concentrated. They're all over the world. I got them in Chechnya. I've got them in China. I've got them in Finland. I got them in the U.S. And so far, I've only lost 3 of those. In terms of people deciding that they wanted to get it off their phone. Haven't had anybody contact me through the production support saying, hey, I've got problems, this isn't working, or why on earth did you do this? What were you thinking? So things have been pretty calm as far as that goes. However, with only 30 downloads, the Apple income has not exactly been much more than about 59 cents.
Hey, it's better than 0.
It's better than 0. But I find that Apple and putting that interface together and working with the Apple folks, it's really very, very easy to utilize their dashboard to set up ad groups for whatever platform you happen to be using. I've got one for Amazon. I've got one for iPhone. I've got one, of course, for Android. Doesn't take more than about 15, 20 minutes to set everything up. Once you set your base account up, the API blends seamlessly with Corona because Apple owns Corona. So that makes it a whole lot easier to be able to work things and make sure that you have all of your links in. Just simply grab the plugins, set them up as requires, and you're on your way. And I'll show you some of that stuff, if you don't mind, what I think would be a good thing to do.
Sure thing. And in the meantime, Mario, I keep seeing your icon flashing. Are you trying to say something?
Oh, I was just wondering as we were talking about the development process. So I'm new to Sudoku as a game. I've seen some friends play it, and it's one of those games I've kind of hovered around the edge of. But when I see it, I mostly see it as a numbers logic game. And it was very interesting to me to break away from that and introduce the color, mostly because for me, as someone who doesn't like numbers or math or having to think about them, this is a far more attractive game than traditional Sudoku that I see kind of people playing with their pens and their notes and things like that. So I wanted to ask, when was the decision made to just go use color as your main thing? Was that something that you decided early on, or was that something your daughter kind of introduced during the early phases of design?
That was actually something that we decided early on because I was out on forums for Corona and happened to toss out an idea. Well, I'm trying to do just basically a watershed project. I'm going to do a Sudoku game. The response was, "Oh my God, not another 1,000,000th Sudoku game." So I thought, well, maybe we need to, build a better mousetrap. And I thought about color. I went out on the Google store to look for any color versions of Sudoku. There's only 2 of them, and I don't mean to be mean, but definitely neither one of them are ready for prime time, which instilled in me the goal to make as polished a product as we possibly could. I'm with you, Mario. I prefer colors. I'm not. I may program, but I'm not necessarily all that hot on looking at numbers all the time.
Well, just so you know, my daughter loves the dot game, as she calls it. She's been asking for the dot game quite a bit of late since we've been having it on our phones.
That's great.
And for our other viewers and our other inspired learners, what he was just talking about was competitive analysis. He went out and did his research beforehand, eh?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Each market, found some place that he could fit in and expand, separate himself from all of the competition, in this case, the millions and millions of other Sudoku games.
Yeah.
but we still have to give him a link to the accessibility guidelines because there are colors you can take that are more friendly to color blindness.
Oh, did you consider that at all when you were developing this game?
I did consider it, and what I wanted to do was simply get the thing out the door first.
Here.
But not to fear, that is one of the things that we're going to be putting out probably in February. You got to give that a lot of consideration.
Yep.
And to make sure that you come up with something that can be viable and workable. You're certainly not going to be able to have 9 different color sets, but you know, you just got to get a good set of almost icons, I guess you would, to go with. Fortunately, my boss is colorblind. So I told him, I said, guess what's going to happen to you come around December?
This is also, I'm going to take this quick opportunity to pipe into any of our viewers right now that if you do have any questions, feel free to put them up on chat. We will be sure to pass them along.
Right.
I'm sorry to interrupt with that, you know, just like shotgun shot. Oh, are we looking at code?
Yeah, we're looking at code.
Woohoo!
I'm bringing it up because we've been talking about Corona and we've been talking about Lua.
Can I interrupt you real quick and tell you to move that Skype window out of the way?
Yeah, why don't
Yeah, thank you. Like you can shrink it, move it, or yeah, there you go. Beautiful. There we go. Now we can see your true artwork.
I wouldn't go that far. But
Oh no,
hang
I consider code as art. Seriously.
So here's what we have. In the Corona API, they have their own framework called Composer. And Composer allows you to set up a structure where through event handlers, the code can operate as an independent or even dependent unit in the overall game or application. We're looking at the main menu right now, and that is, if we go back here, that's this little fellow. So, real simple stuff. Once you get used to Composer, it's surprisingly simple. These are your initializations. Just say I'm requiring Composer. That tells it to use the framework. This identifies, oh, by the way, this is my new scene I'm creating. So open me up a space in the framework space and get ready to load up everything that I'm going to give you. These are lives that we created. I created. I don't know why I keep saying we. I'm the one that did all of this work. But as you can see, we've got sounds. We have relayout. That is to handle the scaling for various devices, so that when my menu shows up on an iPad, the menu buttons will float and function the same way they do on an Android. Device is a simple library that goes out and says, what device am I on? What specialties do I have to deal with? You know, am I Android? Am I Apple? Etc. And it handles all of those issues behind the scenes. So it's done once. I don't have to worry about it. The beauty that you have here is that you set things up into groups. You have classes, you have your images, you have your lives, you have your scenes. Your scenes are the ones that we're talking about. This is actually how you drive a program in lieu of Corona functionality. We have our Composer, the stop part, we have our declarations, and the next step in a Composer is going to be your functions. They can be simple functions such as this, where we're trying to determine how much spacing we need to have for a given button. They can be setting up the data so that we have everything pulled in from JSON and the game is initialized correctly, or in some cases reset if you're going to hit the continue button. And still more setups. Here we have validation of our listings. Here we're selecting the puzzle. All of these functions sit on top of, at the top of the Composer framework. Take it down here to the real meat of it. Here we go. Scene create. So this is the heart of a Composer file. And basically it's an event listener as far as Composer is concerned. It's waiting. As soon as everything gets established, thrown up on the screen, it's going to sit there and it's going to wait. It's going to wait for an input. In this case, you see us putting up the logo. We've got our continuation buttons. We got game interface. We got new game buttons. So this lays out all of our buttons for us and what they look like. Then when we come down here, add event listener on key event. So that means sit there, buddy boy, and wait until somebody touches something. And then once that happens, go look and see what button's been touched and execute accordingly. Here we have an event listener for on back key. As you can see, if I hit the back key, it's going to come up and use a native request exit in Android that simply says, do you want to exit, yes or no? These are the main functions that you have. Other than scene, you have show, which is big here. I'll come down here just a little bit. You have hide, you have destroy. So let's go back up the show.
And all of this, we're still looking at main menu.
We're still looking at main menu. This is within the composer framework, and so you've got certain things that you've got to do to utilize the composer framework properly. Show gets fired off when the scene is about to be displayed. All of this gets built out. And you go here, let me show you this. Let's do this. Let's go options, then let's come back. See the movement of the buttons? That's what all this does. Handles all the transitions to the new locations for the buttons, easing out the images. That's the float that you see bouncing back and forth. That's called a transition easing out back. These are all the locations that we have and the transition locations and calculations for what each button is going to do when the show event gets kicked off, when this gets triggered and fired off. That's all this does.
And all right, so for those who are watching later and not watching the live stream, this is when the pause comes in handy for the video, right?
Yeah.
Just in case you're wondering all this, everything that's going on here. Event listener. So it's interesting, event listener is pretty common all the way across all the different languages. What made you choose Lua?
It's an actual programming language. I mean, that's really what it was. I was attracted to it because I can code.
Okay. I mean, a lot of our game developers are familiar with C# and C++. So, you just why did you stick with Lua, or
I didn't know Lua at the time, and it was a challenge. So I decided, okay, this looks like something worth getting involved in. And a buddy of mine that used to work for me, he said, well, let's sit down and let's see what we can do. And so we kind of raced each other. He wrote his game and I wrote my game, and we'd compare notes, and I'd teach him stuff that he wasn't expecting Lua to be able to do, and he would teach me some things about some of the plugins and such that he had found for his game. So we just kind of kibitzed on it back and forth, helping one another through the process, learning the language, learning the ins and outs of the composer framework. It's turned out to be, it was really a lot of fun, just flat out a lot of fun. Whereas I am finding Unity to not be so much fun.
Wow. All right. Well, as I had said, you are a first Lua developer for the GGDA live streaming channels. I'm not saying you're not the first ever, but it's just interesting to see that you're the first live streaming that we've done with Lua.
Well, it is rare to see a full game done in it, because obviously there are things that lends itself to a lot better than others. So.
Yeah, I'm used to hearing and seeing a lot of Lua languages being used for mods and add-ons and stuff for other games.
Yeah.
So did you ever do any of that? Like, were there some other games that you played that you used Lua to create an add-on or something like that?
A little bit of work trying to get an add-on set up for Civ 5.
There you go.
There we go. Yes, we're definitely allowed to say what are our gaming influences.
Yes. Yeah, so I worked a little bit on one, but I got drawn off onto this and onto the original prototype that I was working with, because I was curious when my buddy came up and he said, well, hey, there's this thing called Corona, and it's #1 in 2D game development, and let's take a look at it. It uses Lua. And I said, oh, it uses Lua. Well, yeah, sure, let's do something with it. So here again, I wasn't using, for the little mod thing, you don't use Composer. You know, you're not using anything that's Corona. It's just simply sitting down and determining, all right, this is the functionality I want to implement. These are my hooks. This is what I have to do to get things to function properly within the framework that already exists. Whereas this got me an opportunity to make my own framework and do whatever I wanted. So just more freedom, I think, is what I was really looking for. I may go back to the Civ 5 thing. I don't know. I doubt it.
Less money in it than the 59 cents ad revenue.
That's exactly right. All the fame and glory just isn't there.
Well, I like that you use the ads. First of all, so few people in the association generate ad revenue, but for mobile game development, my understanding is that something like 50% of the revenue in mobile games comes from ads.
Typically, yeah.
So glad to see that you implemented it as a test run and that it worked so easily for you. Let's talk about that a little bit, because obviously you had to go back and implement the GDPA page as a result of having that in place. So you didn't have that in when you first launched the game.
No.
Has it
No.
been-
That was a mad race in May. Because I hadn't been watching my my emails, and I was cruising through, and all of a sudden, oh my God, wait a minute, I got to do what? And I got to have it by when? So it was a dead run from the 17th of May to the 25th of May to get something implemented, shaken out, tested, and working properly. One advantage, though, was that since I was using Corona and Apodeal's involvement and ownership of Corona, Apodeal provided APIs, plugins that we could just drop in there and work our own magic in terms of how we wanted it to look, what the look and feel was, as you saw when I opened up the simulator. Work whatever magic we wanted in terms of how we wanted it to look. The goal is that consent and decline function correctly. The default for Apodeal is decline. So my initial thought was, if it's decline, why even bother? Put up the, go ahead and put up the buttons and make everybody in the EU happy, and just don't even bother having the consent button say even work. Just leave it as decline. That way nobody would be offended. I thought about that. I didn't do it. But I did.
Give the illusion of functionality.
Exactly. Sure. Why not? Microsoft does it all the time.
Oh.
Users have all kinds of control, not. All right. So, in dealing with them, obviously you don't have a huge amount of instances to see how the ads succeed, but you're not hearing complaints about it. You're happy with the ad content you're getting. You can choose in and out of what sort of ad content viewers will receive. What other functionality does the dashboard give you?
It gives you, well, of course, you can do reporting. You can take the ads. You can set up ad groups. When it looked like I wasn't going to be able to make the deadline for the EU, I simply went in and set up a special ad group that was all of the appropriate countries involved, including the EU, and I simply said, okay, don't send any ads there right now because I don't know if I'm going to make it. So I flagged it as basically shut it off. Worked fine. So you can set up special programs. You can set up special sale options. If you're going to have a sale for something and you want particular type of ads to go with that, you can twist and turn and set up particular groups for that. All in all, it's very easy to use. That's another thing I like about it. Everything is self-explanatory. You don't have to go nosing around trying to lift up a bunch of rocks and figure out what might be underneath it and if it's what you want or if you're going to get bit. Very, very solid interface all the way around. And the API additions that were needed for Lua were very, very simple.
Excellent. All right, let's talk about your other in-game monetization.
Sure.
You implemented this in-game currency, basically, that people can buy. What was your back end for that? How are you actually handling the money, the transactions, if and when they
All
occur?
that's being handled through IAP Badger, which is a plugin that somebody took the time to sit down and develop that takes all of the needed Corona API calls and builds nice, simple, useful wrappers around it. So you include IAP Badger and you read up on how you handle the wallet and how you handle the transactions, how you flag everything, send it up to the Google Store, and how to receive your responses from the Google Store, and it's extremely painless.
Now,
All
is
right.
the Google
Go ahead.
Store still the only one taking a cut of the money, or is the plugin group taking a cut as well?
Plugin group, it's free.
Excellent. So it's only
Wow.
really paying your Google percent.
Right, that's the only thing that I'm being robbed on.
Well, well, then that's a special shout out to the IAP Badger guys. You guys are awesome. Thank you so much. On YouTube, I see a question pop up here. Were there roadblocks along the way that you thought you might be a showstopper, or where you thought you might not complete it?
Uh, yeah, yeah. There's always that. Um, the biggest problem was for me until I found IAP Badger was how on earth was I going to handle the monetization inside the game. Uh, you know, you look at all of the API processes you have to go through and how you did the stack that you've got to build out. I think if I hadn't have found the IAP Badger, I probably would have been stopped dead, or at least stopped for a considerable length of time trying to develop all the API routines, merging them in, setting them up, and getting them to function properly. That was the biggest roadblock for me.
So, would you consider that to be your biggest epiphany or aha moment during the development of this game?
Uh, definitely, definitely.
Okay,
Well,
interesting.
let's go ahead and talk about the others. You're already talking about the mysterious under NDA, can't talk about under pain of death next project. You've also been talking about updates that you're looking to do to this game. What do you think were your main lessons during this development process?
The main lesson I took away from this is to approach it just like I would any other project if I was actually being paid to do a project. Get a plan, sit down, determine what all of my requirements are going to be, write my use cases, determine exactly what the flow is going to be, what the look and feel is supposed to be, do all of that stuff up front. I really feel that would probably have saved me several months overall if I had done that correctly in the first place. So the new product that I'm working on, I just now actually started working on it. I've spent the past 4 months doing design work to make sure that I had a clear understanding of what it was I wanted it to do, what I wanted it to look like, to keep me from wandering down all sorts of bunny trails and getting nowhere.
The talking frog down the bunny trail. I like it. I like it.
Where's the white rabbit?
There you go.
Oh,
So
oh,
you've
go ahead.
you incorporated both the ad revenue and the in-game currency essentially. It looks like they're primarily to test them out, see how they worked. Do you have a strong feeling towards both? You looking to continue using both?
Yeah, I'll probably use both, continue, because all I'm doing at this stage is mobile. I have no plans to go to a larger platform. So if I'm doing mobile, I definitely want to have ads because while people may look at it, people may download it, they may play it, doesn't necessarily mean they're going to buy something out of it. Even if you make it extremely difficult for them to do anything without buying, I play several online RPG games, and some of these guys, they want you to buy simply to hit a key, practically, is what it seems like. They aren't getting my money. If I can play and be satisfied with it without shelling out money, then that's what I'm going to do. And I know a lot of people who feel the same way. So, hey, Might as well have something to cover my tail in case I get a lot of people who are cheap just like I am.
You know what? I know of a really cool RPG game called Noble Armada.
There you go. But we are getting more requests for actual gameplay. So, William, if you wouldn't mind, let's get back into the game really quickly. And I've got some other questions related along this way. JWX Software says, I agree that using colors instead of numbers is an interesting twist on Sudoku that might grab players like me who have so far stayed away from regular Sudoku with its numbers. Wait, JWX, you're a coder! And you hate numbers. Okay. He and Anatoly both asked for examples of gameplay.
Yeah, let's definitely see some gameplay and any other extra features that maybe our players might not be able to see right away until they get further into the game, or something you just want to show off.
But one thing I would like to also discuss as we go forward with the gameplay is the platform. So why only Android? You talked about not going to bigger platforms, but I think this would be wonderful for like Google TV, what is it, Fire, and things like that.
Yeah, and I'm going to add on to that. Unlike a company that has suffered a serious booing recently, why are you only going with Android and not any other platforms like PC? Because you're developing this game on PC, you're playtesting it on PC, so why not build a PC version?
So why not go ahead and just do it? Yeah. Quite honestly, I just haven't gotten around to it. That may be in the future. It's just not in any sort of immediate horizon right now. I wanted to do the Apple, but in order to build the APK, I have to have an Apple machine. I can't use a friend's Apple. I have to have one of my own because they have embedded codes that they embed into the APK so that when they get a hold of it, they can validate it on their side to make sure that it's bona fide.
I feel your pain. I am in the same boat myself.
And when I heard that, I just about went through the roof. I thought, wow, we think that Microsoft does some things that we don't like, and then Apple steps up and just resets the bar.
All right, play the game.
I am. I'm sitting here, we're talking, I'm sitting here playing the game.
Oh, okay, he's playing the game.
Yeah.
And Purple makes a move.
Yeah, my daughter loves the dot game. She also loves Anatoly's game. That's a whole different thing.
I'm glad she likes it. Yeah, my grandson thinks it's pretty cool, too. He's about 2.5, and he just loves to sit there and watch me play it.
So William gave us a good look at the various difficulty levels. Basically, it's classic Sudoku level difficulties, how much begins the game defined and how much you define along the ways. Let's talk about the various levels you're creating here. So it's pretty clear you're doing these all programmatically. These aren't all predefined boards, right?
Correct. This is all, oh no, the boards are all predefined.
They are all predefined.
Oh yes, most definitely. I've got a generator and a solution generator as well, and that determines exactly what kind of board. You got about 2,200 boards in this game right now.
Okay. All right. So it's not just putting them up on the fly.
I may one of these days do that, but here again, it was really a matter of let's get it out the door, and as my father would have said, see who shoots and who salutes.
Well, you haven't been shot yet.
So far, no, both of my feet do not have holes in them.
So I am noticing now the board number, which I should have noticed when I've played it. I've just gone straight into the game. But I can't, like, call up old boards. Like, if I want to retry board 18.
Not yet.
I can't just go, oh, secret coming soon.
Yeah, so what, all these spoilers, dude. I mean, come on. No, that's also in the game plan. I've got 3 or 4 major updates that need to be put out, and I figure by June of 2019 I should have everything out there that I want. That includes the notes that we were talking about earlier. That includes what you just mentioned, the opportunity to go back and what I want to do is set it up so you can see your personal score on a board. And if you're not satisfied, then you can go back and say, yeah, I want to replay 18. I want to replay 562. And can I get a better score on that board? Yeah. Okay, great. That's here again, that's all in the pipeline. It's just the tap hasn't been turned yet, so it's still sitting there.
All right, well, let's talk a little bit more about when the game is at the state where you're really happy with it. Obviously, there was not a lot of social media hype behind this game. A lot of us do that. We'll do the kind of quiet release, get people playing it, testing it, so we shake out all the bugs for the big release, the louder release later on. Is that something you have planned come summer of 2019? Something bigger, louder, splashier to let the world know about it?
If I can get the money.
Yeah.
So you don't have a website for Talking Frog yet? I don't think there's a...
I have a website through Google. I just haven't done anything with it. I've got a buddy of mine who does websites, but he's so swamped right now he can't give me time to do anything for me.
All right, you folks online, you game devs online, give us some suggestions. What sort of social media should the Talking Frog do for this? What kind of outreach would be effective for a game like this? Clearly, a number of you online have had some success. So let's see it.
And for sure, all of those watching this on YouTube after today, after the live, because we will keep this up on YouTube. If you do have any suggestions or comments, please post them. Hit that like and subscribe button. Don't forget that, too. That really
clearly,
helps
there's Sudoku forums on Reddit and elsewhere. Is that an area where you'd want to publicize this when you have it in a condition you're really proud of?
Yeah, I definitely would. Definitely.
But you haven't done so yet, right? Kind of the stealth launch.
No, in my opinion, at this point, the game is still in a state of flux.
Right.
It's not in the final polished mode that I want it to be in. I'm satisfied that there are people who have downloaded it, who like it. I know everybody that I personally know that has downloaded it likes it, and I've gotten some suggestions from them as well. Some of the stuff that you see here is actually suggestions from some of the people that have played. The highlights. Hey, we need highlights. I can't tell what I'm looking at here.
Yeah, I love the highlights. That made it a lot easier for me.
Yeah, I don't think I could play this game without it. It makes life so much easier.
Is there any particular reason why you decided to go free and only with IAPs and advertisements?
Yeah, I just didn't want to have to hassle with people purchasing. Since the game wasn't in the final state, I have a real problem with charging money for something that isn't complete.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Mario, did you have another question? I keep seeing your icon pop up.
I don't know why my icon keeps popping up. I think maybe it's some telepathy here, but I have a few questions. So, for the competitive people, and I know I've seen when you finish the game, we had a high score. Is there any way for me to compare my high score, say, to Andrew's? Let's say one night I'm feeling really competitive and I'm just going to want to best.
Ooh.
By June.
Leaderboard, as soon as the APIs are feeling good.
Yeah, leaderboard. I think probably what I'm looking at doing is using the standard Google leaderboard that'll generate an ID for you automatically. Mm-hmm. That makes it easier on me than having to go in and try and design something custom. But here again, at this point, I haven't necessarily decided one way or the other what the final form is going to take.
Nice. And I'm a big fan of animations, and I was looking at your code, and the only thing I understood was some of the animation terms. And so when we see I'm looking at your board right now, and I see some of the orbs being highlighted. Is there any plans in the future to maybe add like a glowing or a repeating animation, maybe for some cues that you may be close to finishing, or maybe, give us some kind of clues, or just maybe add animation to the orbs, special?
I've thought about that. At this point, there isn't anything planned, but it's not that isn't possible, and it may very well come about. I've had a couple of people say the very same thing. Hey, why don't you let us know when we've used up all of one color? Would be nice. At least gray something out on the main board so we don't hit the color again. Little things like that, and they're nice touches. I mean, They help make a more rounded product. Add
Solid.
extra luster to it, a little more solid. So, yeah, that's a good question, and it's definitely something that I'm considering. It depends on how things go between now and June, and getting everything else in there. There may be, will this ever be a finished product? My God, I don't know. It may never be finished. We may start having
what your
fog
game isn't
pop out.
done in like half a month? Completed? No way.
Oh,
Did you have
no, no.
another question, Mario?
Oh no, those are the two questions. that
Okay,
were-
cool. Because I've got one more on YouTube once again. Can you show us the store options again? And then we want to see the credits. I want to see the credits, but let's go to the store option first.
Sure, there's store option.
There you go. All right, so spend your money. Spend it now. That is not a request. Give
That's-
him monies.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
All right.
Don't be cheap.
Yeah, right. I mean, if you like,
Unless
if you
you're
like
deaf.
the game, give the developers $1 or $2. It's not that hard, and it doesn't kill you. Credits. This is something I pound my kids about, or drive my kids crazy about. Give credits where credit is due. Cite your sources. Yeah. All right. So yeah, I do teach game design and game development, so I love to see credits in games. Very important. Nice. Also, and then can he see the options button one more time? Is this the options?
Yep.
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 Here we go.
Themes, the highlights are those highlighted orbs. He's got a variety of different themes if you tuned in late, which you can choose and you can buy more. Music on off, sound on off. What was the help?
Help
There you go.
help needs to be updated, and with some of the new functionality, so that will also be taken care of. I'm going to revamp it a little bit. I'm not completely satisfied with it. I think it can be made a little bit slicker and cleaner.
One of the things I like to do with our first looks is find bugs. Are there any bug? You haven't showed me any bugs tonight, so I'm like scoring 0.
Oh, you missed it.
I did?
Yeah, you
Ah,
missed it. It
Where
doesn't
was-
happen very often, but it does happen every now and then. Occasionally, that button will not shut off.
all right. I'll take that as a 0.25 credit button. I mean, credit for bugs. But we do.
So far, that's the only bug I've found. I've beat the rest of them to death. So I tell you what, why don't you go ahead and download it and play it and play it and play it, and as soon as you find something, contact product support and let me know.
There you go, folks. And for all those out there, again, if you're interested in this game, you apparently it's free. You can just simply search on Google Play Sudoku Prism, and if you can't find it there, just look up Talking Frog Studios, and you will definitely find it on Google Play there. I posted it in chat for all the different streams. I will do it again. Here you go. You're welcome.
And they've been asked by JWX Software, says, thanks, I know a lot of work went into this, looks good, I will download it. Are you located in the ATL?
Yeah.
Yay, Georgia developer. Gotta love it.
There are Unity meetups. Obviously, we have our own GGDA meeting next week. So,
And tell us about that, Andrew.
yes, since we are now at 9 o'clock. Next
Yeah,
GGDA
Andrew,
meeting
Mario, were
is,
you trying to say something?
is next week.
I'm just thinking things. I don't know why it's popping up.
So your icon pops up whenever you're thinking. You just don't say it out loud. Okay, got it. Yay, technology tonight. Sorry, Andrew. Continue, please.
Next meeting is next Tuesday at Mobile Labs. We'll be in Buckhead. Be free for GGDA members and tag members. $10 all others, but does include food and drink. So make it on out, and free parking.
Ooh.
We'll have our holiday party December 10th at High Res. High Res is also looking for volunteers for the High Res Expo, November 15th to 17th at DreamHack. Check out our Facebook page for more info on that. And the Global Game Jam will be coming up in January, another great event. And I think those are all of our announcements.
All right, for those dates and announcements, that's for 2018.